Hello, and welcome to the Void Century podcast. Unfortunately, we're on break this week with One Piece, so we're still going to bring you guys a new episode this week, even though we don't have a new chapter. So we have a special guest and some good topics to talk about. So Ed and Adam, as always, and would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. My name is Dahlia. I am here as the special guest today. I'm pretty excited.
Welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about your connection with One Piece?
So I'm a pretty recent One Piece fan. I barely started reading the manga this year, and I'm finally all caught up. My only reason at first for reading the manga and watching the anime was to actually be able to listen to this podcast. So I'm stoked.
Hooray! Welcome. We're happy to have you, and also the perspective of somebody being relatively new to the One Piece community. Because Ed and I have been here forever, so it's going to be awesome to get another perspective on things.
Yeah, honestly, I'm honored that we inspired you to get started with the series because, I mean, obviously it's a series that's really close to me and Adam, but to get new people into it, it's just a great feeling.
Totally. I honestly didn't expect to get so wrapped up in the story, but it has like amazing writing, amazing characters, and I'm like trying to get all my friends to like read up on it too.
So, what do you say was the moment that got you hooked into the story? Like, what was that big hook that made you want to continue reading?
That's a hard one. Like, honestly, it was pretty early on in the story, like around when Usopp got introduced, and like you got to see like, like that butler, the butler, Kaya's butler, who's like secretly evil.
I forget his name, but he was Captain Crow. Yeah. Oh, Claghador, I think was his name, or Calahador.
I don't really remember, but like I remember seeing like, he basically was like backstabbing them, and like I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I wasn't expecting that. And just watching them trying to like fight him and like trying to convince everyone too, because like there's that emotional aspect of them trying to convince like the town that they were in that he was actually evil and they were trying to save him.
Yeah, honestly, that was my moment I got into One Piece too, like where I was like sold on it because also on top of that, just the fact that I started off really disliking Usopp and then they make you really like him, just being able to do that, change my like sway my emotions like that, that was also another part of it for me.
I think it's also because Oda used like tried and tested themes kind of in Usopp's arc. Like, it was the boy who cried wolf, but it's taken to an extreme and it's also changed up a little bit to fit in the manga. And then you see Usopp grow throughout the arc, and it's like, so the boy who cries wolf, like, why does he do it? How is it resolved? Like, how does he grow? And it's also Captain Crow and his whole relationship with Kaya.
Yo, dude, honestly, I disagree with you, and I'm gonna say that Usopp never lies.
Well, his lies always eventually come true.
They're not
But
lies. They're
he's
prophecies.
not. Oh, well, he's a god, dude.
He's a god.
I mean, then we have like Enel, who was an actual god, and Usopp is now on Enel's level. Oh, so those hooks that got you into One Piece. So you guys both agree that it was Kaya's arc. I have to say, for me, it was Arlong Park. Just basically the whole scene with Nami and her being so frustrated and upset after Arlong decides to steal the money from her, and she doesn't have anywhere to go, and she starts harming herself, and then Luffy just puts the hat on her, and they all walk up to Arlong Park. That was the hook for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a good scene. So I guess we can move on to our first topic of conversation, which is what are your guys' favorite moments of One Piece?
I guess I could start. So one of the other days, I went ahead and watched a clip of this on YouTube, and it was the moment where Jinbei saves Luffy from a Kainu at Marineford. Basically, Jinbei not knowing Luffy for a long time, but making a promise to Ace and taking a hit from a Kainu and protecting Luffy, and him sitting there apologizing to Luffy because he feels like he can't keep his promise to Ace because they're both gonna die. And then Crocodile shows up out of nowhere. Crocodile, somebody who hates Luffy, and basically uses his ability in front of Akainu to block one of Akainu's attacks and get Jinbei and Luffy to safety. And then to tie it all back, we now see Jinbei back in the story officially joining the Straw Hats, and it just makes it all that more powerful.
Yeah, I love that full circle that Oda loves to do with his character arcs. It feels so good. You feel that satisfaction that like you made it this far reading the story to see like more cool stuff happening and fulfilling.
I really think it just speaks to the character of Jinbei. Like, we weren't really introduced to Jinbei too far before that.
Yeah, we just knew him as a Yonko at the time.
No,
Or
Warlord.
Warlord, sorry, yeah, Shichibukai.
So he was like this super powerful guy that we haven't seen before, and out of nowhere, because he made a promise to Ace, who we haven't really seen in the story, but we know what's going to happen to him. He would rather throw his life away and protect Luffy, and it really speaks to his character, because Jinbei is one of the greatest characters written in One Piece, at least in my opinion.
Oh, I agree. I think he's one of the best characters for sure.
What are some moments for you guys?
So for me, mine are mostly like combat based, and the first one I'll talk about is Luffy, his battle against Crocodile. So we see Crocodile, and up until this point, he is like the toughest guy they fought or had to face, and he's got this whole organization behind him. He's very, very organized. He's just got a lot going for him as a character, and he's also really strong. Like we see him fighting, and he's owning everyone, and Luffy can't do anything about it until Luffy gets beat up enough where he can actually use his blood to hit Crocodile. Because remember, Crocodile is a Logia user, and we never seen Logia user up until this point, so they don't know how to deal with it, and they don't have Haki yet. So yeah, Luffy just kind of lucking into being able to fight Crocodile because he's bloody and determined and all that.
I love the intricacies of early One Piece power interactions that allow for things like that to happen. Like Luffy was able to fight people much stronger than him through willpower and through good battle intelligence.
Yeah, and we see that he still does that to this day. Like look at the fight with Cracker. I don't know. I think Cracker was at the time stronger than Luffy physically, but Luffy was able to out endure him. Something like that. But like it was a battle of willpower, and obviously Luffy won.
Yeah, Luffy has indomitable willpower. So Carlo, what's one of your favorite moments in One Piece?
Honestly, a lot of my favorite moments are stuff that you guys also really like, but I also just really love like the quaint like friendship kind of moments and like, the funny stuff that goes on. So one of my favorite things was in the Thriller Bark arc, right when it was ending and Nami and Lola were, catching up right after the big fight, and Nami tells Lola like, you know what, I'm not actually a cross-dressing guy, I'm sorry all this happened, and Lola's like, girl, I knew already, like, and they're like exchanging like information, and then she gives her the Viver card or whatever, and I just really like that moment where they're like finalizing their friendship.
Yeah, I think it was crazy outside of Thriller Bark that Nami actually made friends with Lola, and that friendship came back, 400 or 500 chapters later to the V-Ray card actually belonging to Big Mom. And even now in the story, with the cover story, the Oh My Family story, we're seeing finally Chiffon and Lola being reunited.
Yeah, the Vivre card played a big role in the Big Mom arc. So because of that, like that's the only reason why Nami even got her power up. It's because of her friendship with Lola early on that she got access to taking over the homies.
Oh yeah, totally. And that's also when I first kind of like started theorizing about it, because like I know that there's like a bunch of story I hadn't read yet by the time I was around Thriller Bark, but I totally guessed it when I guessed that Big Mom was Lola's mom. That felt like super cool to me.
That was a very big theory back in the day before it was confirmed. So yeah, good job picking up on that.
And it was still crazy even when it was revealed. I think Big Mom never said it outright. We just saw Chiffon in panels, and everybody's like, who's that? Is it Lola? And then we're like, no, Lola's got a sister. Lola's Big Mom's daughter.
Exactly, yeah.
Actually, another one of my favorite moments in the One Piece story is in Dressrosa. I know a lot of people didn't like Dressrosa because of its length, but right after Sugar was taken out and Usopp's all beaten up and everybody who was a toy got turned back into a human, and the Tontada, and then they capture Usopp from the wreckage, and Harudin's picking him up, and then the ceiling falls down and there's a huge skylight and the light's beaming on Usopp and he's all bloodied, and then they proclaim him to be a god, and then they start worshipping Usopp. Usopp stronger than Enel for sure.
Honestly though, I wouldn't be surprised if Usopp could actually take on Enel right now, depending on if Enel's gotten stronger. Like at least in Skypiea arc era Enel, I feel like Usopp has a lot of tools. Like I think that he could use some of his trick weaponry to hold his own at the very least.
I want to see Usopp fight Van Augur, but also I want to get your opinion. I'm not saying he needs one, but do you think he will get a devil fruit?
I don't think so, no. I think that at this point, everyone in the Straw Hat who doesn't have a devil fruit won't get a devil fruit, just because their personalities are kind of intertwined with having or not having a devil fruit, and it would kind of change the brand of the character.
What do you think about the theory that Monet's fruit reincarnated on the Sunny because they have the tangerine trees?
That'd be interesting. I don't know if there were other fruits available around there. But yeah, that would be interesting. I could see that.
There's some that speculate that Carrot will eat it, and I think Carrot would be a good addition to the Straw Hats. But with that being said, Ed, what's another one of your favorite One Piece moments?
Oh yeah, so this next one is kind of in a similar vein to the crocodile one, which is Luffy fighting Enel and learning that he can punch him because he's rubber. So I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but I just love the fact that I kind of saw it coming right before it happened. I'm like, wait a minute, Luffy is made of rubber and rubber is effective again, or like it doesn't conduct electricity. I wonder if he can actually use that to his advantage. And then sure enough, a few chapters later, that's exactly what happens. And it was just a great feeling to have that in the story, and it all just kind of made sense and it was canonized. Like my head canon became canon. I just love when that happens. But also the moment of standing up to someone who claims they're a god and undefeatable and taking on someone like that. So with both of my moments, we see occasions where Luffy is faced with a force that shouldn't be defeatable, and he is able to surmount it and overcome it against the odds. So I just really love those moments.
Most definitely. One thing I want to actually talk about before we go forward is kind of a little theory and speculation. I believe that Enel, he's extremely powerful, which obviously nobody's going to protest against. But I believe that Enel himself is an awakened Logia user. Enel is the only Logia we've seen that has a transformation.
What was the transformation again?
He turned into like a big god form with a huge staff.
I'm going to look this up.
No, go for it. It's manga canon.
Oh yeah, I remember this. Yeah, that looks so cool. He's kind of like just like a giant Buddha version of Enel.
Yeah, he turned into like a literal Raijin, like a thunder god.
Yeah, I like that theory. I think that we've seen something similar with Marco Phoenix, but he's kind of like always partially flame covered and partially himself, whereas this
Marco's a zone, Enel's a Logia. So they're two different awakenings.
Oh, Marco's not a Logia. Okay, that makes sense actually.
Yeah, we've seen awakened zones before.
Yeah.
In Enies Lobby.
Wait, who?
The jailers.
What were their abilities?
The jailers, they were awakened zones. I think one was like a zebra and one was like a big koala.
How does that work when they're awakened?
When they're awakened, they just turn into like bigger, more powerful versions of themselves. Like the animal completely takes over.
I see. Okay, I remember that, yeah. Like whenever I think awaken, I just only really think of the Doflamingo scene where he uses the awakened version of his string fruit and everything kind of turns into string around him. So, but that's a Paramecia, so it's different.
I also think Magellan, who I believe is a Paramecia, the jailer at Impel Down, is also awakened because he had that poison hydra transformation.
When Doflamingo used his awakened ability, he didn't really transform into string, did he?
He didn't transform. The thing that made him awakened is he was able to transfer and influence his environment into his devil fruit power. He turned buildings and roads and structures into string.
Yeah, I see. I think that, yeah, you're probably right that the awakened manifestation is going to differ fruit by fruit, even if it's zone or Paramecia. It'll still differ fruit by fruit, probably.
I agree, but we haven't yet seen an instance clearly identified for a Logia, so that's why I'm speculating. Because now at this point in the story, we've seen a lot of Logias, but so far Enel is the only one that had a transformation.
Yeah, and I mean, like, is it a transformation or is it just electricity wrapping around him, forming into the shape of him, but not necessarily being a transformation? You could argue both ways, but I agree that this is potentially, yeah, a manifestation of awakened fruit for Enel. Yeah.
I would say Enel, who has extremely good battle intelligence and battle prowess, but he had hockey and he was very good with observation hockey, but I don't think he was able to incorporate it into his own transformations, like with his fruit, as Luffy's been able to. So that's why I veer more on the edge of this transformation is specifically based on Enel's devil fruit, because Enel obviously mastered his devil fruit and he's adept at hockey, but Enel can't incorporate it like Luffy, I don't believe, because he doesn't have like all three types of hockey, and maybe he hasn't trained them up enough like Luffy has.
So, Dahlia, do you have another moment you'd like to share?
Yeah, I do. I have a couple. So a lot of these moments do include Sanji in them because he's like one of my favorite Straw Hats. So I just really love like all the cool one-liners he does. Like relating back to some of the fights that you guys mentioned, when the crew is trapped downstairs by Crocodile in like a giant cage, and like Luffy couldn't use his devil fruit powers. I think Smoker was trapped in there too, right?
Oh, in Alabasta? Yeah, they were all trapped in cages.
Exactly, yeah. And you know they're trapped outside by like these huge giant crocodiles, and Sanji or Mr. Prince shows up and he like beats up the crocodiles, he like kicks them and stuff. He's like, "Oh, hey guys, did I keep you waiting?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, he's so cool."
That was definitely an amazing scene. Mr. Prince, he shows up once or twice in the story. And actually, one of my favorite moments in the story involves Sanji as well. It's Whole Cake Island, which I know a lot of people, you know, the year of Sanji, Sanji-centric. But after kicking Luffy and knocking out one of his teeth in front of his family and the Big Mom pirates, and Luffy proclaiming to Sanji that he's not going to eat anybody else's cooking unless Sanji comes back to him, and Sanji eventually bringing the bento to Luffy, who's basically withering away after he stayed in the same spot fighting for like 40 days, and Sanji finally comes by and feeds Luffy, and then they have the talk where Sanji finally breaks down and tells Luffy that he wants to go back to the Sunny, and I want to cook, and Luffy punches Sanji. One of the best moments in One Piece.
Yeah, that Luffy, that's another scene where you just remember how stubborn Luffy is, because he's like, I am not going to eat until Sanji is the one who feeds me. And he would have died if Sanji didn't come. So Sanji saved Luffy's life.
Totally. And another one of my favorite moments with Sanji was also when he was up against Enel, and this was when Usopp and Nami were on like the ship, and Enel was about to attack them, and Sanji steps in front of them and he takes Enel's attack, and you know, like it goes back to Nami and Usopp are running away, and it goes back to Sanji, and he's just like, you know, like kind of like shaken, and he like weakly lifts up his cigarette to his mouth and he's like, "Thanks for the light," and then he just like faints, and I thought that was so cool.
What about Sanji saving Usopp in Enies Lobby from Jabra, where Jabra's about to attack and kill Usopp, and Sanji kind of flies in and kicks Jabra and protects Usopp?
Yeah, like that's one of the things that I love is that, you know, sometimes he does disappear like for some chapters and stuff, but when he comes back, you know, it's just so great.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Like as a dude, I find those Sanji moments so cringeworthy. But it's kind of funny that as a girl, you're like, I love it.
I love Sanji. Like all my friends, they really dislike Sanji, but I'm like, no, he's so cool and princely.
I think that he's super cool, and then I think he's also super cringe. Like he's got like two sides.
When he had his nosebleed and almost died on Fishman Island because he saw all the mermaids.
See, actually, that one I did enjoy. Like sometimes it works, you know.
I enjoy Brook as much too. I really enjoy Brook's quirk of "Can I see your panties?" Even when he's fighting Big Mom, he's asking her for her panties. I think it's hilarious.
That's so Japanese humor. I'll go on to another one of my favorite moments, which is a recent moment from the Wano arc where we first see Whitebeard and Roger clashing. And it had that super cool hockey clash. And I don't even think the blades touched, because there was so much hockey that they kind of don't touch, but just their hockey touches. It just is so cool.
It was just a clash of hockey. I also think it was very similar to the clash that Whitebeard had later in his life with Shanks. But the fact, not to pull away from it or anything, but the fact that we waited like 15 years to see Whitebeard and Roger in the same panel actually fighting each other, and the fact that they're so amazingly strong and in their prime, it's amazing.
Also, how they were just loving life fighting each other. Like you could just see how happy they were. Like I love seeing Roger's face because it's very Luffy like, but like he just enjoys the sense of battle and being able to clash with someone who he considers a rival and his equal. It's just so great. Like, and then Whitebeard also, like he's not one to show much emotion, but you can tell that he's enjoying it too in that scene. So I love just kind of seeing those two characters show that type of emotion of being happy. And yeah,
I think it's the brotherly bond between them two. And I don't want to be you for a second, but I'm going to pull something from Naruto. It's that Shinobi can communicate basically with fists and through fighting. I think, at least in the sense of One Piece, throughout strong characters and the zeal of fighting, like they enjoy the communication of being, you know, battle buddies and being, you know, war friends.
Naruto explains it all. It's okay.
Ouch.
Also, like, I just want to let it be known that I'm not a huge Naruto fanboy. I just think that it's like a good way to sometimes give examples of things in other media, but it just happens that I always pull from Naruto for whatever reason.
It's okay, we understand. So, I think another one of my favorite moments, definitely a memorable one, is Thriller Bark. Kuma wants to basically take Luffy and destroy Luffy, and you have Sanji and Zoro coming up to stop Kuma, and Zoro fights Kuma one-on-one and then wants to sacrifice himself for Luffy, and then Sanji wants to step in and do the same, and you have that moment where Zoro just takes his sheath and knocks Sanji out, and he's like, no, this is my sacrifice. And you see Kuma with the big paw pull all of Luffy's pain out and gives Zoro a little bit. Zoro takes all of the pain, the whole nothing happens scene. Amazing scene.
Honestly, that's probably it might still be the top Zoro scene in the entire series still. Just, it's that good of a scene.
It's still a contender for the most badass scene in One Piece.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
Carla, another one of your favorite scenes?
Oh, another favorite scene that I had was when Bon Clay stayed back behind at Impel Down, and like, you know, Luffy was talking to him on the little Den Mushi. He's like, dude, what are you doing? And Bon Clay's like, oh, you're my friend, you know, I gotta help you out. And he helped everyone escape because he was impersonating one of the jailers. And, you know, like everyone's crying and Bon Clay's crying. Luffy's like, you know, like begging him like, dude, stop, like come back, you know, I can't leave you behind. And Bon Clay's like, no man, I gotta help you out. I that was just so touching to me. Like, I really love Bon Clay's character.
Yeah, and he also started as a villain too. Like it's so cool seeing characters originally starting as villains grow into a bigger character and just being bigger, like just helping our favorite characters and yeah, growing.
Villains becoming Nakama, and I think that's also the second time Bon Clay sacrificed himself for Luffy, and Bon Clay also saved Luffy, or no, Luffy saved Bon Clay from the wolves in Impel Down.
Yeah, Okama Kenpo is OP.
Definitely. Sanji should know Okama Kenpo by now.
I wouldn't be surprised if he had it, but like it's just one of those things where he will only use it if it's very dire because it's really embarrassing.
Well, he learned like a lot of cooking dishes that gives buffs on the Okama Island in the Kamabaku Kingdom. He just has never used them.
That's true, yeah. So we still haven't seen, honestly, we haven't seen any of their full potential for any of the Straw Hats since the time skip, which is pretty cool because, I mean, maybe Luffy we have actually, but the rest, we haven't really seen their full potential. And yeah, I would love to see all of their full potential since the time skip, and they're still growing too. Like we don't really see much raid suit action yet with Sanji. Oh, speaking of favorite moments, this is a new favorite moment. It's from the anime only, and I only recently discovered it because you sent it to me. But where Sanji transforms Sailor Moon style into his Germa 66 like Power Ranger suit, that is A+ right there. That is quality material.
It's an amazing moment considering you hate the anime.
I don't hate it. It's just I don't watch it.
I love the whole transition scene where he puts the arms out and you see the sparkles and then you see the suit form around his limbs, and Soba mask.
Yeah.
It's a secret Germa double sex technique.
And then also just Law being like wowed about it because he's a fanboy.
Yeah, he's like, I read the comics. They were amazing. Like, who are you? You're a villain. I thought you were cool, man. Another one of my favorite kind of anime only scenes is the introduction of Sniper King, Soge King, and his epic song. Are you familiar with it?
I'm not actually.
Oh my god, it's amazing. If you've never seen it, you need to check it out. Like, he talks all about growing up on Sniper Island and living in your heart and Lock On. It's definitely a good one to watch. Yeah, just one more moment I really, really want to talk about that really shook us is at a scene in the Reverie where you just see a guy walking around the dank depths of the castle with a huge crown on and just shrouded in shadow and just walking around and opening up a vault, and there's a huge frozen straw hat. And then you see the Gorosei, and they're all talking amongst themselves as they're walking to this chamber. And then you see the throne in which all the celestial dragons casted down their weapons. And then you see the shrouded figure with the tall crown just walk up and sit on the throne. Of course, I'm talking about the introduction of Imu-sama.
Yeah, very cool. Just discovering that there's actually like a leader of the world government. So this guy's gonna be the leader of the Gorosei. And the Gorosei, up until this point, we thought were the ones pulling the strings for the world government and the Marine. But no, I think that it's gonna be Im-sama. And yeah, like there's a lot of mysteries surrounding him, and we still don't really know much about him other than the fact that he wants the Void Sentry to remain the Void Sentry, and he's basically in line with the celestial powers or celestial dragon.
Yeah, he's the puppet master pulling all the strings. The fact that he cut up Luffy, Blackbeard, and Shirahoshi's picture. Well, he stabbed Shirahoshi's. And then he tried to capture Vivi. So we still don't know what's going on with Vivi. We still don't know what's going on with the Great Cleansing. The Reverie was insane to see, and it really set things in motion for the endgame of the story.
Okay, so next section of our podcast is gonna be mostly for Dahlia because she requested this in the past in one of our first episodes for a quote-unquote shipping episode. So on the seas of One Piece, we gonna get shipping. Yeah, so Dahlia, would you want to start with one of your favorite One Piece ships, relationships?
Totally. So one ship that I'm super invested in right now, it is my OTP, my one true pairing. It is Mihawk and Perona. I absolutely love them. Like, we do get to see, like, you know, little snippets of them interacting here and there. Like, obviously, we don't get to see a lot, but they've been living on, like, the same, you know, land for, like, 2 years and stuff. And, you know, Mihawk, he's, like, a super, like, stoic and cool character. And he doesn't really express any emotions and stuff, like, as far as we know, like, as far as we've seen. But, like, you know, he's probably grown really attached to Perona, like, after all this time living together. And I just love how they, like, you know, interact sometimes, like, when Perona was about to leave to go find Moria, and she's like, okay, fine, I'm leaving, and he's like, all right, see you later, and she's like, oh, you are the worst, and he's like, okay, be safe, and she's like, oh my god, you really do care.
Yeah, I do like that relationship. I think that it's definitely a true pair because I think that they will end up together in the series. Mihawk, you can tell that like he cares about her, but it's one of those where he's not very good about expressing emotions. But if you think about it, like all we know about Mihawk really is that he's a loner. Like he's always alone. He doesn't have a crew. He's not a pirate. He's just a swordsman. And the fact that he could withstand living with someone else for this long, like I think that it's kind of a given that they like each other.
Yeah, the only other person that Mihawk likes is Shanks. So I think Perona and Mihawk are one for the ages, and I think it's pretty much one of the most confirmed ships in One Piece. I think another, I don't know if it's so plausible, but I'm a big fan of Luffy and Boa. I love the scene where Luffy arrives on Amazon Lily and Boa is in the bath and Luffy crashes into like her bathing chambers and he sees her naked and she tries to use her mellow powers on him with her love fruit, and Luffy can't be affected because he just doesn't see her in like a sexual way. And from then on, she's like completely attracted to Luffy, including when Luffy beats the crap out of her sisters and their pet. I think it's great how she's always like, oh my god, he wants to marry me, he loves me. And he's like, thanks for the meat hammock.
Yeah, to me, it really reminds me of original Dragon Ball relationship between Goku and Bulma. So Goku and Bulma originally meet as children, and Bulma is flirting with Goku after Goku taps her privates to check whether or not she's a girl, because Goku doesn't know how to tell genders at this point. And first off, Bulma freaks out, and then afterwards she like falls for him, and she's like, hey, like, you're gonna come back for me like when you're older, right? And like Goku has no idea what she's talking about, and he thought that like she meant like, oh, like she's gonna provide me food or something. So he's like, yeah, of course. But like what she meant was like she like come back for me to like get married and stuff. So like later on they meet up, and Bulma is at a tournament, and she trained to fight against Goku because she's pissed off because he never came back for her. And yeah, eventually he's like, well, if I promised that I was gonna marry you, then I guess I'm gonna marry you. And that's how they get married. It really reminds me of this because Luffy is also just super oblivious, but it's cute, and it's, you know, it's just a trope in Japanese anime.
I think for the record, it was Chi-Chi, not Bulma. I think.
Oh, Chi-Chi, yeah, not Bulma. I
Bulma got with Vegeta.
Yeah, everything I just said, I meant to say Chi-Chi, not Bulma.
Yeah, we're gonna retcon that right now.
Oh, thank you.
Good
Thank you
thing
for
I'm the
catching
one
me.
with the memory.
Like I meant
problem.
Chi-Chi when I was talking. Thank you. You should have interrupted me faster, dude. I wish.
Dude, I hate interrupting you. Okay, so another ship. This one is actually a funny ship. Unfortunately, one of the participants in said ship is no longer with us, and the ship itself is a ship. Of course, I'm talking about Luffy and the Going Merry. Rip Merry.
You said Luffy and the Merry, but don't you mean Usopp and the Merry?
Oh, of course it's Usopp and the Merry. I'm sorry. Of course we know that Usopp's gonna end up with the Merry if he doesn't end up with Kaya. Unfortunately, the Merry is no longer with us. But Usopp really isn't a ladies' man. He's never taken any pointers from Sanji. So it seems that the only woman he's ever truly loved outside of Kaya is the Merry.
Speaking of, okay, first off, the Merry that's kind of weird. Like, I've heard of people who fell in love with cars and do things with cars, and that's what you're describing reminds me of.
It doesn't have to be physical love. I'm thinking of it from a romantic love. You're the only one who's making this weird.
No, I think that it's a romantic love with these people in their cars too, and I think it's weird personally. Yeah, but I think
anything can happen in the One Piece universe.
For me though, I ship him with that rich girl. What'd you say her name was?
Kaya.
Kaya, yeah. I ship Usopp and Kaya for sure.
Me too. I think there's a lot of history behind them, you know?
Yeah, and she's the only one who listened to his stories and she wanted to listen to them. Like, she knew that he was lying, she knew he was making this stuff up, and she didn't care. She loved being around Usopp. I see a lot of potential budding between the two of them. And we know that Usopp's father got married with his mother and had a child, so I can totally see a similar thing happening where Kaya might not want to be a pirate and want to stay in her hometown, but she'll still like want to get together with Usopp and have kids and stuff and let him kind of sail the seas with Luffy and gang.
Did Kaya ever get better? Wasn't she bedridden?
Wasn't she bedridden because she was poisoned by Kuro?
I don't remember. It's been a while.
I thought that she was being poisoned by Kuro, and after he died, she started getting better.
I think that could be it, but I don't think Kuro's dead either.
Oh, but like after they defeated him, I should say. Yeah, he's definitely not dead.
But it seems like the only time I really remember Kaya, she's like bedridden. So unfortunately, I guess I just assumed that she was always bedridden. In terms of another ship that's very plausible that I actually really like, and this is just going to be the introduction for Carla, but it's Sanji and Nami. I think that they have a really good dynamic. I think that Sanji is always seen protecting Nami. She's one of the Wiki trio. They have a lot of history together, especially in Whole Cake Island. Even though Sanji was married, you could tell it broke Nami's heart and that they really care for each other. And I think it would be a perfect ship.
Oh my god, yeah, like that whole cake thing, just like, oh my god, it broke my heart. Because I also really like Sanji and Pudding, but Sanji and Nami is just like up there. Like when Sanji came back and Nami's like, "Oh my god, you like you're awful for like going away like that," and she like hits him, and like you could see like all the tears welling up in her eyes and all this emotion like bubbling up. Oh my god.
Yeah, she was just super happy that he was safe, and he cares a lot for her too.
I think that the only relationship, like if any Straw Hat couple were to get married, it would be Sanji and Nami. I don't think that like I could see any other two Straw Hats marrying. So I agree with you guys. I think that it's the most likely, at least within the Straw Hats.
What do you think of some people that ship Nami and Luffy?
Boa Hancock, dude, come on.
I totally agree. The Pirate King and the Pirate Empress, come on. They're literally pirate royalty.
So I have another ship, which is just one of my favorites because it ties it back to like the first chapters of One Piece, and it is Shanks and Makino. And I mean, I never really picked up on it when I first read up on it, but then later on when you see Makino having a child and you're like, oh crap, that's Shanks' baby. Like I'm just like, whoa. So yeah, I mean, it's a confirmed ship, I believe. Well, I guess is it confirmed? I don't know, but
No, it's not confirmed. Shanks mysteriously left, and Makino mysteriously started having a baby.
yeah, so I think that it's all but confirmed, and I don't know, it's just nice because she fell in love with like this cool adventure, and it's like the start of the story of One Piece in general. Like Shanks probably meets the love of his life as well as the future Pirate King all in one trip. Like that's just so cool. Oh, also, doesn't Shanks visit Makino's island like fairly a decent amount? Like that wasn't the first time he was in that village, right? Like in the first
No,
chapter.
it wasn't the first time he was in Kokoyashi Village, but I don't know if he visits as frequently anymore because
Right.
every time we've seen Shanks, he's been doing things in the locality of the New World. But I would imagine that he can sail the Grand Line, no problem, and go back to East Blue whenever he wants.
Yeah, I mean East Blue is weak sauce for him.
It's just getting past like the Calm Belt or over the Red Line that's the problem. But I honestly think Shanks and his crew can just sail around the world as much as they want. They don't really care. They've pretty much done all the end games short of finding Raftel just because they don't want to. So they just, swim around and live the good life and be free and drink and help people.
But yeah, anyway, I just really like this relationship because it's kind of like the first relationship in One Piece, and it kind of kicked off the series, and it's cute.
It's also a good introduction to the next generation in the One Piece story without being, overly exposing of it. So, like Pez, too. I love the relationship between Beige and Chiffon. I love how of a doting father Beige is, even though he's supposed to be this badass mafia boss. He's holding his baby and killing fools, and he's like, "This is how your daddy does business, Pez." But I think the dynamic between Chiffon and Beige is actually really good, especially in the cover story. You see he's just a loving father and husband, and he'll do everything for his family, which is completely opposite to the way he was presented in the story and originally.
Oh yeah, totally. I love seeing them together. Like I just really love seeing like a very wholesome kind of like relationship.
Yeah, it's similar to like Odin and Toki, where they just really love each other, and they're just a team. They'll do anything for each other. I think it's really sweet.
I don't like them because they're ugly.
Oof, boo. That's why you only had one ship to talk about.
That's toxic, man. That's toxic.
Stop being so toxic.
No, I'm kidding. I actually do. I dig it. Like, I definitely dig Chiffon and Beige. Like, it's really cute. Like, Beige actually caring about someone and seeing that. Like, it's awesome. It's really heartwarming.
Well, he's a mafia boss, so it's all about like his family, but he brought it to that next level, and he's got an actual family. And I think it's really sweet because at the end of the day, he's just this badass family man, but he was portrayed as being like this hard ass before we ever got to know him. I think it's really cool. And talking about quote unquote ugly ships, Raizo and Shinobu are definitely one of the ships. I think it's coming in Wano. I think they're gonna fight Fuku Rokuju, and Raizo's gonna step in and save Shinobu, and she's gonna develop feelings for him, and then he's finally gonna get that quote-unquote sexy Konoichi girlfriend.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they're gonna end up together and continue the ninja line in Wano.
They're gonna create a lot of clones of themselves. Is that what you mean, Ed?
I guess you can call it clones. Half clones, half of each.
Carla, do you have any more ships? Those are all mine.
I do actually. So, like even though I really like Sanji and Nami together, I also really love Sanji and Pudding together because I don't know, I just really like that when you see them like interacting and stuff, or when you see Pudding like thinking about Sanji or Sanji thinking about Pudding, it just shows like, you know, the deeper, more emotional and like more like stoic side of Sanji. And like I just really relate to Pudding because she was like, oh man, like at first you totally think that, you know, she's like a total like jerk and she's like ragging on Sanji to every like behind his back, but like you see her into her thoughts and she's like, oh man, like I don't really deserve like a man as like kind and like wonderful as Sanji is, because like Sanji did show that he was very kind and, you know, gentle towards her, even like when he knew that she was like shit talking him behind his back and stuff. And I don't know, I just really like all the emotion that it brought up seeing them together.
I think that was the first time Sanji was ever confronted in a relationship, and he acted as chivalrous as we thought he would act given the circumstances. And I remember reading week to week, especially when Pudding would constantly dog Sanji. I remember the community was in an uproar, and there were a whole bunch of subreddits dedicated to Pudding hate. And then towards the end of it, you realize that Sanji wasn't the one who was tortured by Pudding. Pudding was the one who was like tortured by everybody else her whole life. And the fact that Sanji was able to see past that and consider her beautiful, and they had that whole relationship. And when they parted ways and Pudding, you know, gave Sanji a kiss and tore out his memories, it was really unfortunate and really sad. But if it was ever Sanji and Nami, it would be Sanji and Pudding.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that relationship's definitely kind of like the runner-up for Sanji. I think Pudding is really interesting. They just have a great dynamic because Sanji never attacks a woman. He'll never go against a woman. Like he's a white knight, you know, he's like the typical white knight that he can only be on the woman's side. So even if she's gonna be mean to him and do him dirty, he's still gonna love them. So I think that their relationship would really work, and Sanji's probably only like one of the few people in the entire One Piece universe who could deal with Pudding, I think. So yeah, I could totally see them together. I just like the Nami Sanji better, you know?
Yeah, totally. And another one of the ships that's like a little on like the weird side, but you know, like if you think about it and like on the fanfic kind of side of it, I really love it. So it is Princess Vivi and Princess Shirahoshi.
Oof.
I don't get it. Please explain.
Exactly.
So like I was really thinking about this, and I'm like, okay, so Princess Vivi, she, you know, she's a princess, she's in Alabasta, and she does like, you know, like all sorts of stuff, but like she wants to be free and she wants to like travel with the Straw Hats and like, you know, live that pirate kind of life. And Princess Shirahoshi has been like, you know, like sheltered her whole life. She's super scared of everything, you know. Luffy calls her Wimpy Hoshi, and she just wants to like be able to like kind of see what her mom did and like, you know, interact with humans and go see the outside world and stuff. And you know, when they were interacting at like that meeting, like the political meeting, I forgot the name of it. What was it called?
The Reverie.
Oh yeah, that. When they were interacting with that, you know, they were getting along really well. They were talking about Luffy. They were talking about all sorts of stuff. And, you know, I think if they had a chance to, like, interact some more, like, I think their personalities would mesh really well. You know, they could be, like, girlfriends or something. Like, you know, Princess Vivi could take Shirahoshi and, like, you know, they go see the world. Like, you know, Shirahoshi would be, like, kind of, like, you know, hesitant to, like, go out and adventure. But, you know, Princess Vivi's like, no, girl, I got you. Like things are okay. I will be here. And, you know, they have all their friends to count on, and they could just like travel and like do cool stuff together. I don't know.
If they're on land, they could just ride on the ducks together, and if they're on the sea, they could have adventures on the Sea Kings. I don't know too much about their relationship, but I think if they had a relationship, it would be cool. As we've seen, like, Vivi isn't too much interested in, like, having a husband or a man. She just wants to adventure, and the same with Shirahoshi. Like, she didn't know how to turn down gentlemen suitors in the Reverie arc. So it's pretty much, yeah, I guess if there was any romance there, who knows, maybe they could end up with each other.
I get very like best friend vibes from them. They have a lot in common. They're both regents, they're both princesses, and both of their countries are kind of black sheep within the celestial, like within the world government. I guess it's called the world government, right? Because they're the world leaders. So they're
Yeah, the world
kind of
government.
yeah, so they're kind of like the black sheep. So they have a lot in common. I think that really during the Reverie, what got them to like take notice of each other was their interactions with Luffy. So the fact that they're both friends with Luffy, I really think that that really gave them a deeper affinity towards each other. I don't personally see a relationship, but I wouldn't be against it. I think that, yeah, they just have a lot in common. I think that their personalities would really mesh together. I still see them as like best friends, BFFs type of relationship more than a romantic one, especially just because they're royalty and they want to continue their lines most likely. But that being said, I'm not against it.
Obviously, it's not gonna become like canon or anything, but it was just like a cute, like kind of like fanficky, like head canon kind of stuff that I was coming up with.
They're both part of Luffy's princess harem.
Hell yeah. Yo, actually, I came up with one looking at Dahlia's topics, which is Chopper and Carrot. I think that's a ship. The show.
No, no, no. Chopper's her brother. That's weird.
I think that it's a ship because they're both really cute and they both have like their monster sides where they transform, and Carrot's gonna join. Oh, you know what? I changed my mind. I retconned what I said earlier. I think that Chopper and Carrot is also another likely Straw Hat Nakama marriage. Once Carrot joins the crew, obviously.
Ooh, Carrot for Straw Hat. You're finally coming around for the ship.
I've never been against it.
I think Carrot would make a good addition to the crew, but I don't necessarily know how I feel about Chopper and Carrot. We haven't seen any romantic interaction between them. Plus, I think Carrot's a baby.
How old is Chopper? He's not that old either. Look at him. He's a little cute little guy, you know?
I think Carrot's like 13, dude.
I don't know how old Chopper is, but I can still see it.
Okay. I mean, Chopper already has another potential suitor in that reindeer mink lady from Zoe.
Oh, Chopper is 17 after time skip.
Okay, so maybe it could happen. But again, Chopper also has a potential suitor. Like, Oda doesn't really play romance too much with Chopper because Chopper is not attracted to humans because he's an animal. So that's why Nami and Robin let Chopper bathe with them.
Yeah, but Carrot's an animal too, you know?
I mean, she's a mink, it's a different species. They're similar, I could see it, but
She's not human.
I know, I get it. I mean, Chopper's got a couple options, but not too much.
I really like Carrot and Wanda.
Who's Wanda?
I think they're sisters. Wanda was the dog mink.
Can't be sisters, they're
And,
not like the
like-
same animal.
Sisters don't have to be the same animal. I don't think they're literally sisters, but if I remember correctly, Wanda was Chopper's superior. So that's why Wanda was all frazzled when Carrot left, because she was supposed to be looking after Carrot.
I don't know, I just thought they looked cute together.
I mean, yeah, maybe if there's any kind of love there, but I think it's not romantic right now. I think we only have reason to think it's platonic, like friendship.
What about Crocodile X Monkey D. Dragon?
Okay, stop it. We're moving on. Okay, speaking of Crocodile, your favorite One Piece villains? I think Doflamingo is pretty crazy. He's like a puppet master, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think Doflamingo might be consensus top villain of One Piece so far, just because we got his full arc already pretty much. Like, we saw his backstory. There's a lot going for Doflamingo, and he's a celestial dragon, and that's really cool too. And he's not for the celestial dragons, like he doesn't like them.
Yeah, I think Doflamingo, in his intentions and his history, his backstory, and him being like truly evil. The thing about Doflamingo is there wasn't really like one event in his life that caused him to be evil. Okay, so like the townspeople beating up on him and his family did not cause Doflamingo to be evil. Doflamingo was just a bad seed. He was always an evil, malevolent kid. He even killed his father because Doflamingo couldn't get any new slaves, and because Don Quixote Homing did the right thing and basically said he, as a celestial dragon, he's still no higher than any, other human. So Doflamingo, bad man for sure. Like, Doflamingo is just evil, and especially what he did to King Riku and how he almost killed everybody in Dressrosa. I was so happy to watch him get punched in the face and watch those little glasses shatter.
Also, enslaving the Tontata like that, another pretty scummy thing. There's a lot of parallels with Doflamingo and Crocodile. He's kind of like the first half of One Piece's Crocodile. So like he's the second half version of Crocodile. They have so many parallels. They both have their own kind of underground organization. They're both
Warlords.
They're both warlords, and they're both taking over a different kingdom. So they just have a lot going on. Or sorry, they have a lot of parallel between the two of them.
I would agree. I think Doflamingo is one of the users that his fruit tied so well into his personality, and especially Doflamingo's rage. And the backstory with Corazon and Law. Doflamingo definitely needed to be taken out, but he's a great villain and he's very well written. I like his personality and I really like his style too.
Yeah, I agree. So I'll go with one of my favorite villains, which is Enel. First off, we can't deny that his character model, the way he's drawn, he just looks so cool. He's based off of Eminem, Slim Shady, the real Slim Shady. And I'm a huge Eminem fan, so I really like that. Also, he's just so cool. Like, he's got thunder, and he has this giant warship, and he can transform into electricity, and he can fast travel because he's electric. Like, he's just so cool. Like, he's got a lot going for him. He conquered Skypiea. Like,
observation hockey.
The first time we've ever seen it was with Enel, and even though he might not have had future sight, his was still pretty awesome because he basically was like a god in Skypiea. He could see and hear everyone's interactions, really. Like, that's pretty godlike.
Yeah, he was a crazy villain. Enel, one of the strongest characters that Luffy has ever fought to this point in the story. And he's going to come back, and he's going to come back in a big way. I even like his personality, and even then, Enel started the trope with the shocked Enel face.
Yeah, he was the first one with the shocked Enel face, and we see it time and time again throughout the series, and every time it brings a smile to my face because I can't get enough of that.
Robin with her shocked Enel face reading that Luffy was taken out by Kaido is one of the best in the entire series.
Yeah, a lot of the Straw Hats got it with that newspaper article.
Definitely. Dahlia, do you have a villain that you'd like to present?
One of my favorite villains is Crocodile. So when I was first reading the story and stuff, he seemed like such a untouchable villain at first, because he's the first guy that Luffy fights up against that it almost seems like, oh man, Luffy can't take this guy down. He beat up Luffy 3 times or something, and it really made you doubt early on in the story, oh man, is Luffy's willpower enough to take someone out? So just having him as that kind of foil to Luffy's willpower and strength was really cool. And I don't know, he's just so cruel and evil as a villain, because he fed people to his crocodiles. He took over Alabasta. He was just very ruthless as a villain, I feel. And also I don't know, so confident and self-assured of his powers, because I remembered when at the Battle of Marineford, there's this moment where Crocodile wants to go up against Mihawk, the literal best sword person in the entire story. That was crazy. I was what the heck?
I think that honestly Crocodile would lose to Mihawk though. He underestimates Mihawk or something.
Just the fact that he was crazy and confident enough to even try to go against Mihawk was just whoa.
I think Crocodile's really cool because, again, we're going to see him in this story. We haven't seen him for a while, but Crocodile's just one of those enigmas in the One Piece story who participated in Marineford. And Crocodile's very strong. He's always been very strong. I'm really interested to see where he's going to show up next.
Right, and I also like that he was kind of redeemed because he did end up helping and saving Luffy at that battle as well.
Yeah, and the fact that Crocodile still has a lot of untold history. We still don't know what his relationship with Whitebeard was, because when he showed up to Marineford, he immediately beelined and attacked Whitebeard, in which he was deflected by Luffy.
We also don't know what his secret is that Ivankov knows about, so that's another...
Okay, do you have to talk about this every episode?
Yes.
I love it.
That's another contention, because we just don't know what it is. It could be anything.
It's true.
Yeah, it could be. It could be that he likes to eat donuts while lying on his back.
Yeah, but that's not that juicy. That's not juicy enough.
Well, it was juicy enough for our next One Piece villain. One of my favorite villains in One Piece is, of course, Katakuri, who was Luffy's mirror match, except Katakuri was stronger than Luffy in every way possible at the time, including the fact that Katakuri was originally written so OP, he had a Logia Devil Fruit, which was then retconned to a quote-unquote special paramecia. And I really like Katakuri's personality as well. He's very honorable, he's very chivalrous, he has a very strong will, and he's willing to do whatever he possibly can for his family. He's very similar to Luffy. He is Luffy's exact mirror. The only difference is Luffy fights for his crew, Katakuri fights for Big Mom. But as we saw, Luffy has a stronger willpower than Katakuri. That's the only reason why Katakuri allowed himself to be defeated by Luffy. One of the best characters in the whole story, including one of the best villains.
Yeah, Katakuri definitely is kind of like Shadow Luffy or Evil Luffy or Dark Luffy. Like he's the mirror match. He's the clone match. And yeah, it was really well done. I think that I enjoyed seeing his fight against Luffy. I enjoyed seeing his character evolve after Luffy was done with him, and the fight was epic. It was the first time seeing Luffy go all out after the time skip and growing from it even. Like he got more powerful from that fight because he basically learned observation haki to get some future sight, just like Katakuri has. So yeah, I dig Katakuri a lot, and very well written. I want to see more of him.
Me too. That's one of the reasons why I hope the story doesn't end as soon as we think it may. But Katakuri is definitely another character I want to see for sure.
So for me, another one of my favorite villains is Buggy the Clown. So originally, I absolutely disliked this character. I thought he was so annoying. Like, oh my god, can we be finished with this clown dude already? Like, I don't care that he was on Roger's crew. He's so annoying and weak-willed and all that. And then Marineford happens, and he just becomes way more cool. He becomes a Shichibukai. He just kind of lucks into it, and that's really what's funny about his character, is that he kind of lucks, like he just has some really good luck and charisma to be able to convince people that he's more powerful than he actually is. And now he actually is powerful. Well, he actually did get powerful due to having a big crew that followed him and becoming a Shichibukai warlord. So once that was disbanded, though, now he's back to his weak old self because he only has his like original crew of Alvida and her crew helping him out, and he's a little weaker now. But hey, Oda said that Buggy actually has one of the most powerful devil fruits in all of One Piece. It's just that he hasn't really honed his skills. So potentially he could grow to be a very formidable opponent if he ever kind of changes his mentality and develops as a character more.
I think Buggy will be a very formidable character. I think just his pedigree and being a cabin boy and having the same potential as somebody like Shanks, I think Buggy is an extremely well-written character. Buggy D. Clown is an amazing character. I love his devil fruit. I love his personality.
Yo, he's on a D.
Oof, he totally is.
He's
he
on a
could
D.
be.
Nah.
You don't know.
Not
He's
fan.
basically the Shichibukai equivalent of Usopp.
I also really love Buggy just because of the way he's able to like trick and fool everyone around him into thinking that he's like some really great like and powerful guy. Like back at Impale Down, like everyone was like trying to like follow Buggy. They're like, oh man, this guy knows what he's doing. And then at Marineford, they saw Buggy talking to Shanks and they're like, oh man, this guy's talking to Shanks like he's his equal. Like we love this man. He's gonna be our leader now.
Oh yeah, and he starts yelling at Shanks, and they're like, he called Shanks by his first name. He didn't call him Red Hair Sama. And then they're like, oh my god, he must be so powerful. But I love Buggy. He doesn't try to do it intentional. It's just his gag.
Yeah.
I love this scene at Marineford where Luffy's about to get slashed up by Mihawk, and Luffy just throws Buggy up in front of him, and Buggy gets slashed up.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if Buggy gets cut. It doesn't matter who cuts him. He can survive.
He's just screaming as he's cut into ribbons, and he just tries to rebuild himself. Or when he lost his hands and his feet, or his arms and his legs, so he's walking around like little Chibi Buggy.
Oh, that's actually one of my favorites. Seeing Chibi Buggy.
He's so good. Another one of my favorite villains is, of course, Rob Lucci. Just because I'm a big fan of Hatsuri. And Rob Lucci as himself doesn't have a lot in the personality department, but he's just the raw, unbridled, just anger, rage, and just bloodlust.
Yeah, no, Rob Lucci is pretty scary. I gotta say, I dislike Spandam more than Rob Lucci because Spandam, what does he even have going for him? Whereas Rob Lucci, at least he's cool and strong and powerful, and Spandam is kind of like using other people to do his bidding.
Spandam has a devil fruit in his sword.
Oh yeah,
Spandam
that's
himself
true.
is not powerful. But yeah, I hate Spandam so much. Rob Lucci is a monster.
Yeah.
Rob Lucci almost took Luffy out, and the fact that Rob Lucci mastered pretty much hockey with his Rokoshiki techniques and even created his own. Yeah, Rob Lucci is definitely a character not to be messed with. And the fact that he joined up with CP0, oh man, I can't wait to see him again. And Hatsuri too.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna be quite formidable when we see him in action again. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he was around Sanji level of strength, maybe a little weaker, but around there, ballpark.
I mean, we just don't know. He was at Luffy level strength. He could still be at Luffy level strength. I don't think Rob Lucci lacked on any of the training. Since joining CP0, he's probably killed a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, I just don't see him growing as quickly as our protagonist, but it's possible, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Do you guys have any other villains that you like?
The only other one that I have, and we kind of already talked about him a little before, is Im-sama from the Celestial Dragons. I just think that there's a lot of potential with this villain to potentially be like the final big bad of the series. We know that like we're led to believe that it's going to be Blackbeard that's the final big bad just because he kind of has the opposite morals of Luffy. He's like the reverse Luffy in terms of someone with the will of the D. And yeah, I think that Im-sama just is the manifestation of celestial dragons and the world government and that equality and, you know, inequality, I should say, and racism towards non-humans as well as non-celestial dragons. He's just the embodiment of all that is bad in this series. So although there's not much known about him yet, I just feel like there's so much potential with him that I really wanted to at least bring him up here.
I totally agree with you. I also am of the mindset that he's probably the final bad in the story, considering we know that Raftel is going to be found first, and then there's going to be a battle after the One Piece is found. I like to believe that Blackbeard is the one who meets Luffy at Laugh Tale and fights him for the One Piece, in which Luffy will hopefully defeat Blackbeard. And then I like to imagine that the world gets caught up in a great cleansing in which in which Luffy will have to band together with everybody he's made friends with to protect the world and take down the world government once and for all.
Yeah, I think this wraps it up for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us, Dahlia. Pleasure to have you. Love hearing your perspective. Not only like a newbie One Piece, like a newer One Piece fan, but also the woman's perspective. It's great to have.
Totally. It was super fun to be on the podcast. I mean, I don't know, or I don't theorize as much as you guys do yet, because I'm a very recent and new fan. I barely finished reading everything maybe a month ago. So but it's been fun.
Welcome. We appreciate having you. Glad to see your perspective. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope you come back.
Yeah, definitely come back.
So that'll be it from us. Thank you for tuning into the Void Century podcast. Remember again, if you want to catch us,
forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Void Century PC.
Yeah, and YouTube at at the Void Century podcast. And if you want to reach out to us, you can reach us at the Void Century podcast at gmail.com. Thank you for sailing with us. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.